All rise. Judge Vanderbeek Court is now in session. Judge, this is case number JVB 1011, Berkeley versus Alberts.
Thank you. Okay, you all may be seated. Okay, Miss or Mrs.? Miss Berkeley, you brought this case before the court. What's going on?
Your Honor, I'm here to get custody of my grandchild and also to make my or soon-to-be ex-son-in-law to pay the child support.
All right, folks, get ready. Today's courtroom drama is packed with twists and tension. A determined grandmother is taking legal action, fighting for custody of her granddaughter and demanding back child support from the child's father. The stakes? Sky high. The emotions? Even higher. Judge Bundy kicks things off by laying out the facts, but things heat up fast. The grandmother wastes no time explaining how she stepped in when, according to her, the father stepped out. Now she's asking the court to officially name her as the child's legal guardian. But here's the legal wrinkle. She's not automatically entitled to anything. The father has rights, and the court has to balance what's best for the child against what the law allows. So here's the big question. Can a grandparent legally take over parenting duties if they believe it's the right thing to do, even when the biological parent still has legal standing? The courtroom's charged, the questions are real, and the outcome could change this family's future. Let's break it all down.
My daughter was diagnosed with lymphoma, and Your Honor, it was a long and difficult process, as you can imagine, and he wasn't up for it, and he left. And so I went and helped my daughter and helped my granddaughter through this process. And they had been legally separated. He was paying child support, but when my daughter did pass away, I checked into the account. I had access to her financial business, and I checked the account, and he was not putting the payment in there. So I am looking for the back payments that are due, and I am looking to get custody of my granddaughter.
Okay, so let me just make sure I'm clear. Your daughter is deceased now.
Yes, ma'am.
And my condolences.
Thank you.
You're pretty much trying to step into the shoes of your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I understand.
I think it would be far more appropriate for me to be raising the daughter than for him.
Okay, why do you believe it would be more appropriate?
He has a lifestyle that I don't necessarily think is best for raising children.
Okay, well, I guess I'll get that from him. Mr. Alberts?
Yes, Your Honor.
What's going on?
The grandmother holds nothing back. She paints a vivid picture of her daughter's fight with lymphoma, how brutal it was, how lonely it felt, and how, in her eyes, the father wasn't there when it counted. She says when he walked away, she stepped in without hesitation, and now she's convinced she's the right person to raise her granddaughter. Then she shifts gears to money. Her claim: the father stopped paying child support after her daughter passed away, leaving the child financially stranded. But here's the legal snag. Child support is meant for the parent, not a grandparent. With the mother no longer alive, the judge is already seeing cracks in that part of her argument. She doesn't stop there. The grandmother questions the father's lifestyle, nights out at bars, heavy use of babysitters, but again, that's opinion, not proof. And in a courtroom, assumptions don't carry weight. Judge Bundy's face says it all. He's listening, but he's about to push back and put every claim to the test.
Some of those details are correct.
Which ones are not correct?
The fact that I bailed on my wife, our marriage was over a long time before that diagnosis, and we mutually agreed that I would pay child support, that I would support her financially, and I did until she died. And now there's no one to pay child support to, and I don't know why she's dragging me in here trying to take my kids away from me, talking about my lifestyle, saying I didn't love my wife.
What lifestyle is she talking about?
I don't know. Ask her, Your Honor. I really don't know.
What lifestyle?
Well, he spends a lot of times in bars.
Okay.
A lot of time in bars. He spends a lot of money on babysitting because he spends a lot of time in bars.
Okay. Going to the bar is legal.
True, but who's going to be there to help with homework? Who's going to be there to hear the sad story of how she was bullied in class that day? A babysitter? I don't think so.
So are you always at the bar and leaving the baby with a babysitter?
No, Your Honor. Anytime
How would she know that?
Maybe because I call every night to say goodnight to my granddaughter,
Okay.
and it's the babysitter that picks up the phone.
Okay, so you don't necessarily know whether he's there or not, right?
Well, why would there be a babysitter there if he's there?
Well, I don't know, but I'm just saying, you don't necessarily know if he's present or not. You just know that the babysitter picks up, right?
Yes. Okay, technically, yes.
Okay, well then technically you don't really know what he's doing unless you are actually at the bar with him.
Now it's the father's chance to speak, and he's coming in to set the record straight. First up, the marriage. According to him, it ended before the cancer diagnosis. So no, he didn't walk away during her time of need. They had already gone their separate ways. That alone shifts the emotional weight behind the grandmother's claims. On the topic of child support, he's clear and confident. He says he paid consistently while his ex-wife was alive, and legally, those payments ended with her passing. He's not avoiding his responsibilities. He's simply following the law, and the judge seems to be taking note. Then come the lifestyle accusations. The grandmother says he's spending too much time at bars, but how would she know? She's not there. Her claims are based on hearsay, and in a courtroom, rumors don't hold up. It's not about what people think is happening. It's about what can be proven. Judge Bundy is listening carefully, and so far, the father's case is stacking up stronger than expected.
Or you have someone spying on him, which is completely wrong. But that really has nothing to do with why we're here today. His child support should have stopped because there is no one to pay the child support to. Your granddaughter lived with your daughter, right? At the time of her death. Right, so you can't step into the shoes of your daughter. But only other living parent is dad.
True, but dad was not around for the last 2 years. I was.
Right, but the child now has been living with dad since your daughter passed away, right?
Yes.
And when did your daughter pass away?
About a year ago.
Yeah, your rights are not superior over his in this particular case. There wouldn't be. There's no reason why he should be paying child support to you. I mean, you had access to the account that the money was going into because of your daughter. But now that she's deceased, there's no one to pay the child support to. So he should not be paying child support anymore. So he did the right thing. You just may not agree with it, but...
I do not agree with it, Your Honor.
Why do you need the money?
I don't need the money. I need to make sure that my granddaughter is getting everything that she deserves.
But how would you know that if she lives with him? Now, if she lived with you, that would be valid. But if she lives with him, you can't necessarily speculate and say what he is or he isn't doing.
Well, I know what my granddaughter tells me.
Well, we're not going to go into that because children aren't very honest all the time. And how old is this child?
6.
Yeah, they have a very big imagination. So, I mean, I can't do anything about that. He should not be paying child support. And I'm assuming you cover the child on health insurance?
Yes, Your Honor.
I mean, the only thing I can order, pretty much is that he maintains that child support, the medical support on the child, but other than that, and that's through your employer?
Yes.
That's all that he can be ordered to do. I'm not going to make him pay child support for a child that belongs to him and that lives in his house.
Fine.
Okay.
Now it's time for the law to speak, and it's cutting through the emotions with cold, clear facts. First up, child support. The judge doesn't hesitate. Since there's no longer a legal recipient, the father is under no obligation to continue payments. That part of the case? Officially closed. Then comes the real heart of the battle, custody. The grandmother insists she should be the one to raise the child, but the judge isn't swayed. The law is firm. If a biological parent is alive and hasn't been proven unfit, they have the legal right to custody. love and concern aren't enough to override that. But the judge does leave the door slightly open. If solid evidence of neglect or harm ever surfaces, the court could revisit the case. Until then, the grandmother's concerns remain unproven, and legally, they don't hold up. With that, the gavel drops. The ruling is made. The case is closed.
Anything further from you?
No, Your Honor.
Anything else from you?
What if the child wants to come live with me?
Well, she's 6 and you're not her parent. So she does not get to make that call. Now, dad starts doing something, like if it's actually proven that he's being neglectful and going to bars or anything like that, and the child ends up living with you, then yeah, but you're not the parent. So unfortunately, you know, I can't do anything about that.
Right.
Okay, if there's nothing further, you all are dismissed.
And that, folks, is how legal reality unfolds. The grandmother came into court with her heart on her sleeve, believing that love and sacrifice should carry more weight than legal paperwork. But the court? It sees things differently. Parental rights aren't handed out based on emotion. They're rooted in law. Yes, she may have been the one holding everything together when times got tough. She may have been the child's rock, but that doesn't automatically give her more authority than the father. Flawed or not, he remains the child's legal parent. And unless something major shifts, something backed by real evidence, that's not going to change. This case is a powerful reminder. What feels right isn't always what the law allows. The grandmother's love mattered, but in the courtroom, love alone doesn't rewrite legal rights. In the end, it's not just about who cares the most. It's about what the law says, and in this case, the law spoke louder than sentiment.